From the misty Pacific coast to the rugged Cascade Mountains and beyond to the high desert in the east, you are listening to the Oregon First Hunting and Fishing Podcast.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. This is Bryant here. I just wanted to jump in right at the top to give you a heads up that we actually recorded this live on the water. And so you're going to hear some boat noises, you're going to hear some talking in the background. It's just not the perfect crystal clear audio that you get inside of a podcast studio, but it's even better because we're out on the water doing the thing that we're talking about in the episode. It's pretty fun. I was blown away when I reached out to Pro Escobedo of VIP Outdoors to be on the show, and he invited me out on the boat with our co-host Gage to come and fish with him while we talked about fishing. Now, anyone who's been interested in getting into salmon fishing, you've probably seen Pro's videos when you've looked up on YouTube how to catch Chinook or how to catch coho or even ocean fish. Like, honestly, anything that the Pacific Northwest is really known for in regards to fishing. Pro is a pro. Believe it or not, his name is actually Pro, so it's very fitting. But I'm super excited that we get to have him on our podcast. I hope that you enjoy this episode just as much as we enjoyed recording it. Just don't forget that we recorded it on the water, so the audio is not perfect, but it's still good enough to listen to. So I hope that you'll stay tuned in. If you want to know more about salmon fishing, I encourage you to go to the YouTube channel VIP Outdoors 1, that's the number 1, and Pro has a ton of great videos there. You can follow him, VIP Outdoors. Just look that up on any social media, and you'll be able to learn a whole lot more about salmon fishing than we're able to cover in this one episode. But I hope you enjoy the conversation. Thanks for tuning in. All right, well, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm here on the water with Pro and my co-host Gage.
Yes.
Those of us watching on the video aren't going to be able to see Gage very well, but that's okay.
Right. Yes.
We don't need to see him.
Well,
but
good morning.
We're out here on the river hoping to be interrupted by some fish. I'm amazed that, Pro, thank you for making this happen, bringing us out here to record on the water.
Yeah, for sure, man. I've always found it to be interesting when guys do outdoor shows and they're doing it indoors. I've always been like, that don't sound right, man. But right on. So, yeah, my name's Pro Escobedo. I'm the owner of VIP Outdoors and VIP Tackle.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, thank you, Pro. From all the information that we've been finding, you're super heavily involved in your community, owner of VIP Outdoors. Thank you again for having us out.
Absolutely.
We're absolutely blessed to be out here on the Willamette fishing.
Not a problem, man. Not a problem.
Sweet. Well, remember to follow us wherever you'd like to stay up to date, especially if you want to join us for fishing trips, hunting trips, and shooting events. Our next one coming up is on June 7th. We're going to go trap shooting. And that's going to be down out of Jervis, Oregon at Mid-Valley Clays. And so we're going to pay for the range fee, but if anyone wants to join, make sure you bring your own shotgun and ammo. And then the next time you can see us is at the Northwest Mountain Challenge, July 11th through 13th. We have a booth up there, so that's going to be fun. Going to get to meet a lot of people, but that'll be good.
I'm going to throw a timeout on you real quick.
Sure.
Wait just a second. Oh, there we go. Come on, baby. Come on.
That's not salmon.
A little chubby, yeah?
Yeah, I just saw the back of it.
As soon as I turned,
It did look like it was wanting it.
Buried from the back of the rod. The drop was right on that.
Acting chubbish.
Yeah, it is. It was a salmon.
Right on. Got interrupted by the wrong fish. So what I was saying, I was like, also introduce your guys' self and what you guys name your company, what you guys do.
Sure,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's very important, especially as people get to know you. Every time you just, like, wait, what do you guys do? Who are you?
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Good.
All right,
What do you got, Brian? Who are you?
I'm Bryant, and I'm the host of the Oregon First Hunting and Fishing Podcast. We're based out of Salem, and we've only been going for a couple years, but it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's amazing how you just reach out to someone and say, hey, you want to be on a podcast? And most of the time they say yeah. Even people who you'd never think would be interested or willing to talk to some random guy from Salem.
Yeah.
And then Gage has been around for a few months now.
Yep.
Your first episode was when we talked about your blacktail hunting story.
Oh, yeah.
And we're talking about spot burn.
Yeah.
He got a little bit too specific. I had to cut out, a little bit of that.
Yeah.
We were on this mountain. It was, this
and
trail.
I was just kind of like, all right, that's not staying in. But anyway, thanks for the shout out there.
Yeah, my name's Gage too. I'll formally introduce myself. Yeah, been on the podcast for a few months now. I'm not an expert in anything. I just love to learn. Love to learn new things, new areas of hunting and fishing and all of it. So glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in this episode, we're going to talk about the ever-changing salmon regulations, spring Chinook fishing, and have a conversation with our guest, Pro Escobedo. You ready for some icebreakers?
Hit me with it.
All right, we always do this with every guest, and you've not been warned about what we're going to ask, and you can go into as little or as much detail as you want, but one word answers is fine. All right, I promise they're not going to be too hard.
Kill one and bang one. Go.
Okay. Fishing or hunting? Hunting. Okay. You know, that's not the answer I was expecting.
Nope.
All right. East side or west side for hunting of Oregon?
Different state.
Different state? Well, tell me more.
If I had to answer your question, I would say the east side, because that's where I was born and raised.
Yep.
So,
Yep. You know what's going on there.
Exactly. Just kind of my home turf type stuff.
Yeah. But you often go out of state for hunting?
As much as I can. It's been limited the last couple of years because of coaching. That I take part in the fall and winter time. So it's been pretty limited the last couple of years. But I've done Alaska, Colorado.
Wow, sweet. Alaska, that must be like an adventure hunt then.
It's a blacktail hunt.
A
DIY blacktail hunt. A lot of regulations change up there, but I've done that hunt 3 different times.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Well, on the fishing, ocean or river?
Ocean.
Yeah. All right, salmon or lingcod in the ocean?
Lingcod.
Lingcod.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I have been out lingcod fishing, and that's pretty fun. It's pretty cool. Actually, I was lingcod fishing, bottom fishing, and I was reeling up, and I had a big old Chinook take my, I can remember sardines or anchovies or some kind of bait fish, and I landed that, but obviously I couldn't keep it. But it was pretty cool. That was the first and only Chinook I've ever caught.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was a monster out there in the ocean.
Wow,
But, I was lingcod fishing. Didn't expect that day.
No, it happens.
Yeah.
It happens for sure.
Yeah. All right, last icebreaker. Fall runs or spring runs?
Spring run.
Spring run?
Yep.
Why is that?
So when it comes to game, fishing game, I really appreciate the table fare aspect.
Sure.
And when it comes to spring Chinook, it's 2 things. Number one, overall, in the general population, the quality of fish is going to be better. When I say quality, when it comes to eating, the quality is going to be better, just because of the high fat concentration in it.
Sure.
The second part to that answer is these are much more of a challenge to catch.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be dialed in certain fisheries to catch spring Chinook consistently.
Yeah.
And for me, honing my craft is what feeds my competitive side.
Sure.
And so, like, every spring Chinook season, it's like a new competition.
Yeah.
And so it's like I want to make sure I can still compete on a yearly basis, whereas the fall fishery, that I don't want to say it's easy, but we've created the system with our 3.5 spinners and all the components that go with it.
Yeah.
That, again, it doesn't make it easy, but it takes a lot of the user error out of fishing, out of catching.
Okay. Yeah. I'm kind of surprised that the follies would bite better.
They're dumb.
Yeah.
They pee in the water. Their brains just they're not very intelligent animal.
Oh, that's great. Well, the other thing I love about spring that I have to bring up is this turkey season.
Yeah.
You know, I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Super fun. I'm getting ready to go out on Saturday. Gage, you going with me, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
So
Heck yeah.
We'll be up in the woods.
Very nice.
And a little plug, Bryant and his wife made a very nice spring turkey song.
Oh,
so
we
go
did.
check that out.
What?
Turkey song.
Oh, song. I thought you
Yeah.
said sauce. I'm like, now you got my ear.
Oh, sauce. Yeah, no, I don't have any turkey sauces, but yeah, made a turkey song. So
Turkey song.
Turkey time's a coming.
Turkey
but it's here
time's a
now.
coming. There
you
So
go.
that song has kind of lived past its lifespan now.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make sense to play it now.
No, we're already here.
Yeah. And I mean, the other thing spring brings with it is a lot of people are bear hunting. Their bear tags.
Right.
I didn't draw any bear tags this year. Do we
Yeah.
know anyone who did?
I don't know anybody, but I have
Jericho
seen.
did. Jericho
Oh, he
is
did.
another rotating host on the podcast, co-host. And yeah, he drew the Northwest area bear tag.
Yeah.
So
Fingers
we'll be
crossed
getting
for
after it.
Jericho.
I like it when you draw the spring bear tag, especially for the Southwest area because there's so many turkeys down there. So you could do the,
You could combo hunt it almost, yeah.
hunt the turkeys and the bears. And if you're good enough, you could fish the same
Oh,
day.
yeah,
You know?
absolutely. You can do a lot of stuff down there.
Yeah.
You're right. You know, spring, what it does ultimately is it provides a lot of opportunity. You know, during
Yeah.
the wintertime, we get kind of locked down into winter steelhead. You know, if you like wing shooting, obviously there's waterfowl to be had.
Yep.
But the springtime really allows you to get out and spread out a little bit. You know,
Yeah.
guys that are hardcore chasing springers, that's what
Yeah.
we do.
Yep.
Northern California has an awesome striped bass population that we go do. We have, spring bear, turkey, morel picking.
Yep.
There's a lot of outdoor
yeah.
opportunity in the spring. You know,
Yeah.
so to your point, you know, it's
Yeah.
just a great way to kick off the year, man.
Uh-huh. And we all have cabin fever. We want to get out there and
Exactly right.
get out of the house and, you know.
Oh yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that, getting cabin fever.
Oh
Just,
man, it's been
can't
bad.
wait to be on the
It's
water.
been bad. Duck season ended, and I haven't really done much until now.
Yeah.
Turkey season's here,
Yeah.
so it's been bad. But anyway, we're out here. Love it.
That's
Fun
right.
stuff. Real quick call to action to our listeners. If you have a topic you want us to cover or a specific question you want us to ask our guests, we have a link in our episode description where you can give us feedback. Let us know if we say something stupid.
Yeah, please.
Which happens quite a bit, you know, we're offer corrections or whatever might go there. We'd love to hear from you. So that's a link in our social media, also at the episode description there. And I'll say again, just to make it clear, we are going trap shooting on June 7th, and we'd love to meet some of you guys. Well, let's talk about a little bit of local news stuff here. We usually like to cover outdoor related local news story, but this time I wanted to ask you. You had mentioned how you went to a meeting about some closures on the Columbia River, and that whole system there seems so interesting to me about how, you know, they're counting the fish that are caught. And I had asked you on the phone, are they comparing that to any kind of count of how many fish are in the system, or is it just a catch quota and then they're hoping that there's like a certain number of fish in the run? Like,
Yeah,
how do they calculate
I think
that?
the second part of that is the more accurate part that you said. So
Sure.
realistically, you know, when you talk about catch, we call that our impacts.
Yeah.
Okay? So what's our impact look like? How much effort's out here? How many people are fishing? Excuse me. And what the run forecast looks like, right? So they, when I say they,
the fishery manager,
the fishery manager,
yeah.
the fish in general, because we're part of it, and, you know, we pay our taxes, we pay our fees, we're part of this.
Yeah.
They are looking for a certain number of population to migrate upriver.
Got it.
And we want to make sure we're meeting those thresholds. In the Columbia River system, there's a lot of fingers in the pot, man.
Yeah.
A lot of hands in the pot.
Yeah.
You know, like the guys up at Drano Lake, they want to make sure they get their fish back. The guys in Idaho, they
Yeah.
want to make sure that they get their fish back, right? At the end of the day, they paid to produce them. So they are, quote unquote, their fish. So they got to get those populations back. Period,
Okay.
right? It's only fair. If you pay for it,
Yeah.
it kind of belongs to you, right? So, so we have to be very mindful of the impacts that we have on fish that are not only ours,
Sure.
but fish that are migrating up that river. So some of the things they look at are the impacts, you know, and they preset the dates.
Okay.
They preset the dates. You know, like our spring Chinook season, I believe, are usually set at the beginning of March. No, it opens March 1st, so they're usually set in February.
Okay.
and then they let us know. And generally speaking, for the last however many years I can remember, that goes until like the first full weekend of April.
Got it.
Historically speaking, the 1st of April through whenever that closure is, are going to be your better dates on the Columbia River, and that's when that Columbia River fishery starts.
Okay.
Those are the more highly
So
sought
they-
after.
they
Chub bite! I got a chub bite! Ooh,
There we go. We're hoping to be interrupted.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we're looking for.
That's the point of fishing, guys. That's
Yep.
the point of doing it in the outdoors. Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
it
fun.
pulls out-
Chub fishing, I'm not familiar with that term.
So
Is
it's a fish. It's a,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
could be like a
Pike
bass
minnow
or
or
something.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We call them chubs. What are they? What?
There's pike minnow.
They're pike-
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or regular like squawfish.
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 Yeah,
Oh,
we
okay.
just combine them to call them chubs.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah,
So
because
they're
there's a
little
chub.
meat
There's
eaters.
a chub family of minnows, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
Yeah, they don't call
Okay.
them squawfish anymore. They changed that or something. I've heard.
They're
Yeah.
offensive.
Yeah. Those.
I don't know, man.
Those offensive
It's a
little
little
fish.
sensitive for me.
Like Titan, but
Yeah.
Yeah. So they set the dates before
They do.
based off of what they estimate. Oh, got another one.
Pulling it away from that chub.
Oh, avoiding
Oh,
some
okay.
stuff.
Based off of what they think the fish might be doing. But like I've
of the
noticed
forecast.
for the fall, especially, we were just talking about the coho run. They're watching the fall counts.
Which, let me time out you there.
Sure.
So you're saying stop it and you say something stupid?
Yeah.
So guys up would not want you talking about the guy at the,
Okay.
the
Oh.
fishery up.
Okay.
Yeah. It's,
Well, then-
it's still a little bit of a.
Then what
It's
I'll
gotten popular the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But guys don't want to see it go out of hand.
Well, then what I'll say instead then is when they set the fall numbers and open up certain parts of the river, they're watching the counts as they pass through different areas. Like they're counting the fish, but they're not doing that with the spring numbers. They're just more focusing on retention rather than like how many have gotten past Bonneville.
No, they keep an eye on those numbers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you could absolutely keep an eye on those numbers on how many are going up past so many dams.
Sure.
Mike, you want me to reel that in, change?
yeah,
And
we're gonna grab it real
I can
quick.
multitask. So, no, they absolutely pay attention to those numbers during
Yeah.
the spring, during the summer, during
Uh-huh.
the fall. You'll see at the Bonneville fish counts. There's a Willamette Falls fish count.
Yep,
That
yep.
you could track all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
And so that's part of their equation. You know, the hard part
Yeah.
is sometimes that depending on water temp and water pressure, with what the flows look like, sometimes that number going over the dam is not an accurate reflection
Okay.
of how many fish are in the system.
Yeah.
You know, what people forget about fish is that they don't have a calendar. They can't look at the calendar and go, it's April 4th. I should be going over the dam by now.
Yeah.
Everything's based on water temperature to them and flows, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So they could come up and they could potentially stage in below Bonneville for a long period of time, and we've seen the fishery close down based on quote unquote lack of numbers going over the dam, right?
Yeah.
But catch rates are going to be high.
Yeah.
And so we get shut down, and you know that's a little bit frustrating, you know,
Yeah.
especially when you're making a living out here, right? Excuse me.
And that's one of my questions for this. The purpose of bringing this up is right now, the Columbia is closed.
No, it's
At-
open right now.
It's open.
So it
okay.
did reopen for 3 more day retention. So
Okay.
Oh, okay.
that 3-day retention started on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
Put all that out there.
Where do
Yeah.
people find the most accurate information on closures?
You could the ODFW website. You could actually subscribe
Okay.
to like certain newsletters.
Yeah.
One of them being the Columbia River. I think it's called News or something like that. But you just click on there, and they will send you emails.
Okay.
About meetings that are taking place.
Yeah, and that's one of the meetings that you went to was
No,
that. Okay.
I didn't personally go to
Okay.
them. I know people.
Got it. Sure. You know a person or two,
I know
right?
people, yeah.
Just
Yeah.
a couple.
So we get a good bite of what's going on, you know.
Cool.
So at least what's
Yeah.
being talked about. You don't know until it's voted upon, but
Yeah.
at least what's going to be proposed and things like that.
Yep.
Is there a
Yeah.
specific body that votes on those types of things? On like a weekly basis?
Or is it just like a decision?
There's the Columbia River, it's called the Columbia River Compact. Yeah, Columbia River Compact is where you're going to find that. So
Okay.
I could probably send you guys a link to that, what that looks like consistently.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just more
Thank
out of
you.
curiosity, wondering how all that works and how it's decided. Because for someone like me who only has limited knowledge of how the whole system works, it can seem pretty convoluted sometimes and confusing.
It's very complicated, unless you're submerged in it. It's hard to keep track of.
Yeah.
It really is. And, and this, salmon fishing on the Columbia is one set of regulations. Salmon fishing on different tributaries is another set of regulations. Fishing in the ocean is this whole other animal.
Yeah.
It is. It's very hard to keep track of.
And the barbed versus barbless versus this or that.
Everything. You keep this species, but not this species.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's a lot. So
absolutely.
It's like, it really is like a profession, right? And at the end of the day, you have to know everything about it now.
Well, that's part of what you pay a guide for, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want, I've always said it, and I don't guide anymore, but I've always said it. If you want to go learn a fishery, the best thing to do, number one, when you call a guide, be open with them. Yeah. And not every guide is going to take you. And you got to be okay with that, because this is the way guides make livings. By catching fish and taking people out and providing an enjoyable experience. Well, when you overcrowd an area with people who are learning, sometimes that learning curve creates a disruption between anglers. Sure. And that's where, honestly, as an overall group, we really struggle as outdoorsmen at not working together and not being respectful of each other, but more so competing with each other for the same thing. And it's like, well, there needs to be a mutual respect. Does anybody have the right to fish this section of water? Absolutely they do. But if you were to come in here and do what I'd never have done this before, not knowing exactly what we're doing here,
you'd mess it up for everyone, right?
You potentially, but that, and I think that's part of the conflicting part. You say, you'd screw it up for me. Is that true? Yes. But the biggest part is you would be so frustrated because you're going to watch people catch fish. Oh, yeah. And you're not going to catch. Yeah. Like this fishery in particular here, if you don't know how to fish this exactly with certain lengths, depths, like the right bait, you will not catch fish. Yeah. You will just sit out here, float around, and get so frustrated watching everybody catch fish that you're going to not enjoy your day. Yeah. There's other fisheries, like for me personally, when I'm in my boat, this same exact time of year, I go down, I pro troll, I whip around 360s with a spinner blade and a coon shrimp or a hard bait, and we do fine. And that is a very everybody fishery. It's a good way to get started, get your boat comfortable. Here you got current, you got debris coming down, you got to be able to manage all these rods at different lengths, and it's a lot up here. This takes experience to fish up here. If you don't have that experience, this is not the place for you.
Expertly holding the boat in the correct spot, I mean, that takes a lot of practice.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was telling you about how I have an old Evinrude 2-stroke, and we tried trolling with that last year, and that was a mess. I couldn't keep the boat straight. I would try to slowly cheat up the RPMs, and then it would go too fast. I'd too slow, too fast, and
couldn't get that
sticky
proper
throttle.
Thump, right?
Yeah, it was rough. So something about having the gear is
I think
help.
That kind of attitude that you're talking about, where you get into certain fisheries, guys are trying to learn how to do it, they're following around the guides, that can kind of create the environment from the outside looking in of the guys kind of just being a-holes. They're very
grumpy.
Yeah, grumpy. I just don't like telling people where they're fishing and everything, and I understand, I totally understand.
Well, I think you nailed it. That's a perception from the outside.
Yeah,
that guides are grumpy.
Yeah.
I know every guide out here.
Yeah.
They're not grumpy people. They're actually very pleasant people.
Wow.
And what happens is just that my earlier comment is they're trying to make a living out here. And when people come in and just start, I guess, I don't know, what's the best way to put it? Trying to exploit something that they have years of invested resources into, time, money, marketing, and when somebody comes out and maybe catches a fish, and before you know it, it's on social media everywhere.
Oh yeah,
it's here, there, all of a sudden it's like, wait a second. Something that I've been working so hard for 15, 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
Now I got somebody inviting more people to not allow me to work comfortably and provide the service to my customers the way it should be provided at the cost that we're selling a trip at.
Yeah.
So that's the way it's got to be looked at. It's not that guides are grumpy. It's like we're trying to make a living.
Yeah.
And we got to provide the best experience possible to customers. There's certain areas of the river to learn on.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to be respectful of that. So when you do call a guide, you know, it's you got to be open to them saying no, and you got to be respectful of that, man. That's their that's their skill. That's their craft. They've been doing it for years. Again, the biggest thing to be respectful of is not that this section of water is theirs. The thing to be respectful of is the time and the investment of not only money, but time away from their families to be good. To be the best that they are, you know, and you just have to. You got to be respectful of that, man. I mean, I don't know how you can't be respectful of that.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
Yeah, and I wasn't calling all guides grumpy, but I've talked to enough people.
You did. I heard you playing it.
I have it recorded.
Yeah, I have it recorded. I heard it too. Yeah, it's on 3 cameras.
Oh man.
But you're right. That is the perception.
Yeah.
That is the perception. There's no doubt about it. You know.
Yeah.
But when I was new at one point. I was the new guy on the block 18 years ago, and I was very chatty. I wanted information.
Is that rod moving quite a bit, or is that?
Oh, you'll notice when that fish bites, this thing will lean all the way over.
Okay, cool.
But you have to, and people would shut me down. You know, I've literally, when I first got started, that 3.5 spinner of ours that has just changed the industry.
Yeah.
I would literally hand it to people, and guides would hand it back to me when I first started, saying, nope, this is too small, or I'm on such and such, and just not wanting someone new to come into the industry.
Yeah.
And the way I got into this industry, and I think that this is the right way, is I was respectful to every guide.
Yeah.
And I was nice to everybody, even if they shot me down. Even now, I still say good morning to everybody if they're around there. Have a great day. If you show up with the idea that people are grumpy, guess what you're acting like? You're acting grumpy. And then the perception of each other at the dock is that guy's a jerk. Or the perception from the guides is like, man, those private guys are a bunch of arrogant guys that don't say anything to anybody. So there's the challenge, right? It's basic communication. And in this day and age, people are so much more comfortable speaking electronically over face to face.
Oh yeah.
And so that's one of the challenges. Like, well, if you're going to get into a fishery, a certain location, grow a pair of balls and at least tell somebody good morning. And
Absolutely.
Well, I noticed, I kind of made a joke, like, does everyone come ask you before they fish? Because you just were naming people here and there, and I've seen that guy. Never
I've been doing it for a long time.
I've
been doing it for a long time.
And it's probably a relatively smaller community, right?
The fishing community is very small, and we've been very fortunate, with our products to not only get to know the guides the way we have, but just the overall fishing community, because we sell our products to everybody. So we get a chance to. Literally, guys will call in the shop, and how long have you talked to a customer on the line before?
Oh, long time.
Like
15 minutes.
20 minutes, and they'll just start talking fishing. And then, it's like, and that's the cool part about this industry, is that if you do open up your ear to somebody, and you're kind to somebody, you'll be surprised at some of the relationships that are organically forage.
Yeah.
You know, opposed to trying to be competitive with everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
It limits the amount of fist fights you hear about at the docks.
Oh man. Well, that's the bank fishing.
Yes.
Where you're hearing about the fights a lot of the time too.
Oh no, it's the boat guys too, man. You go up to the fisheries, all that stuff. All that stuff is childish, man. It's unfortunate, you know, but in every group you're going to have people that are just a-holes. What are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you started reaching out. One thing Gage and I talked about actually was how you were so open, you know, talked to you on the phone. You're like, let's make it happen, taking us out on the boat to record in this awesome environment. Did you mentioned that you faced a bit of rejection when you first started trying to sell your blades?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Do you think that maybe has something to do with how open you are to people and wanting to
not at all. No, what I truly believe in, just as being a person, I don't care if it's fishing, I don't care if it's athletics, I don't care what it is that if you demonstrate how things should be done and you become successful, that will eventually carry over to the next generation. And so for me, it's, again, what I said, just be kind to people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And give people an opportunity. That's what you should be doing, right? And that, for me, is what hopefully carries over to you younger guys, is when you talk to somebody, you then speak to them maybe a little bit differently depending on who you call. And you say, hey, maybe you speak to them with a little bit like more respect, or like, hey, we're trying to do this. And then, but the biggest part is, and I would say this separates me from most of the guide world out there, or the fishing industry out there, is if you ask anybody in the fishing industry about me, I highly doubt there's any negative interactions that have ever taken place. And so I try to make that kindness contagious. And if I do it, other people, I would like to think, would start following suit. And that's what's going to create a better fishery, is when people work together, opposed to working against each other.
I mean, that's like in business, right? Gage, you have a business degree. They talk about culture, right? Company culture.
Consumer behavior within the workspace. No, I think it's not only, it's going to open up more opportunity. Guys are more likely to share information with you, just not necessarily like fishing spots, but just like, hey man, like, I noticed you got this set up. Why don't you try this? This is a little bit better. Or even like, I can't believe you would hand gear to guides and they would hand it back. Man, that's just crazy to me, you know?
But what are you gonna do? I mean, you could also get butthurt about it, or you could just be like,
were you butthurt about it, or was it just?
Oh, at the time, because I was broken the joke back then.
You had to work hard, right?
2008 was the time to start a business. I just
no kidding, dude.
Well, how old are you guys?
I'm 28.
Oh, I'm 26.
You guys don't know nothing about 2008 then.
I just remember my dad was talking about it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
My dad started his business about that time. He's a machinist.
Yeah.
And he's still in business, so he made it through. But it was. What I remember most about 2008 was the flood.
Flood.
Yeah, there was a big flood in 2008 in McMinnville. The park was underwater, and that's what I remember about 2008. But also I'm aware of the economic struggles there.
So
it's a hard
people
time.
lost their homes.
When you first started, were you hand painting your stuff or like spraying?
Yeah, the very first one I ever did was actually with fingernail polish.
Sweet. Hey,
we did that.
Yeah,
we had our wives in the garage painting up some old lures. Like, hey, we can spruce this up.
The fingernail polish doesn't stick very well, though, right?
No, it does not. Yeah.
It doesn't look very good either.
Yeah. Did you just like experiment with colors? And because I know that color's a big thing for you.
Right. Yeah. So what happened is, just over time is, for the longest time, I actually kept a journal of what would work, what would not work, different conditions, whether it was clear out, water conditions, the whole thing. And so I developed a color and metal theory that all of our patterns are based on. So we put them into three different categories. We either have bright, we have contrasting, or we have dark.
Okay.
And depending on where a salmon is in their life cycle, they're going to gravitate to one of those. So, and that is a whole other conversation and all its own, you know what I mean?
For sure. And And your YouTube channel has so many resources too for a lot of the specific tips that if people are hungry to hear more about that specific topic. I know that you've covered that quite a bit before.
I have,
on
yeah.
VIP Outdoors 1, right?
Honestly, I don't know. I'm crappy when it comes to social media, and I think I might even have 2 YouTube channels and like 2 Instagrams because I didn't know really.
Your job?
No. You know what? I figure out if people find it, great. If they don't, I'm out here doing cool stuff. So.
Yeah.
I know for sure one of your channels is VIP Outdoors 1 on YouTube.
It's one of me holding the fish with my dad and the side of my boat's up there. It's that one. So there you go. There's the technical side of me right there.
You know, when I started really getting into this, and which was this last summer and fall, your channel popped up, and I can't tell you how helpful you were, because the specifics of setups and everything is so helpful. How to actually put together some of these spinners, especially. I love the spinners. Like the colors and the presentation, man. It's addicting. It's really cool. It's kind of like, I guess, Hot Wheels. Like,
man, it is, and I joke about it all the time, you know, and guys go, man, why do you have so many different colors? Well, they're all based around those 3 different topics that I was talking about: bright, contrast, and dark. But you know, I was a very busybody kid. I was a kid that, you know, I played all sorts of sports and this and that and the other because I was just a busy kid. I was a busy-minded kid, busybody kid, and I still am to this day. If I'm not doing something, I'm unsettled. And so that was a good way for me to really exercise my creativity and the competitive side of me, and and so in doing that, I want to know why things work. I want to know the particulars about things, and those are the things that I share with people, opposed to just the basics of how something's put together. You know, and all that, you know, all of that is through experience. You know, and that way, for me, you know, that's my truth. That's my source. Is like, whatever you say, you know, it's going to be tough to compete with my close to 20 years of experience of theory and practice, theory and practice, theory and practice. You know? So I could say with confidence, and like, you fish that fishery, here's going to be the top 5 blades for you.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
And so is that what VIP Outdoors was born out of?
No, dude. VIP Outdoors was born out of me and my buddy Adam, man, driving around, and we were blacktail hunting one day, actually. I was like, dude, let's start an outdoor company, man. We were just young, you know, and I mean, it was simultaneously, what would be a company? I mean, and we think the same. I mean, we're both football coaches. We're both wrestling coaches. We fought together. Like, we are the same mentality people.
Wow.
It was almost at the same time we both go, VIP Outdoors. It was like, oh yeah, you know.
That's awesome.
Just, Prestige worldwide.
That's what it felt like. That's what, you know. And at that time, that was a cool move. It just came out. And I think that's what triggered everything. You know.
That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah, you'll hear a lot of one-liners from certain movies in the early 2000s from me.
That's awesome.
So you were on a hunting trip when you guys thought of it, but I feel like you're more known for fishing.
Oh yeah. No, well.
Have you done any hunting stuff?
No, I don't. I've never guided hunts. You know, I got to the point where you got to save something for yourself. And
that's some good advice.
Can't tell the chub biting that. The hunting part of it is just something that I've always had a passion for, and we grew up farming. We grew up. Again, I played football. I wrestled. We didn't have time to hunt growing up. We always fished. Because you could break away for a Sunday or something like that and go fishing, but we just didn't have the time to hunt. And then as soon as I got older, I got into the hunting a little bit more, and I just absolutely love it, you know.
We had on David Van Epps, turkey guide. And we were asking him about that, like, how do you guide but not hate it, you know? And for him, he's just so obsessed with turkeys. Like, he lives and breathes turkeys. He could never, you know. But I've met other guides who, you know, they get burnt out. They get, because it's a job at some point, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What gets exhausting is it depends on where you're at in the career. And this is just for me in specific, is what I have found is that when I was first getting started, I didn't have a family, I was single. And so my why, why do you want to guide? That's at the end of the day, that's what you got to ask yourself. And so I wanted to guide because I wanted to be recognized as one of the better anglers out there.
Yeah.
And then that turned into, well, now I want to make a living doing this. So that was my next why.
Yeah.
And then that changes, and now, my why of, why I want to be involved with the outdoors is to make sure that my boys have the same opportunities, if not more, than I had in the outdoors, right? So with the guiding part, you got to really understand why you're doing it. And if your why ever moves away from the resource or the people, because for the longest time too, and towards the end of guiding there, that was one of the harder decisions I had to make, because my why at the time was taking care of my customers that have taken care of me for years and helped me build my company.
Yeah.
And so to
Those
call
guys
them
that come
and
back,
say,
right?
and so corporations would call and book so many trips a year, having to call them and say, hey guys, I'm going to take a break from guiding and I'm going to focus on coaching my boys and this. And that's a hard phone call. And so you have to really know why you're in the guiding industry. And if you focus on why you're in it and let that be your North Star, you don't get burnt out. But if you make it about the fish, you make it about the resource every day, that's tough.
Yeah.
It's creating the relationships with the clients after a while that really is what fuels you. It's like, man, I haven't seen them. And excuse me, for me with my customers, they weren't customers, they were friends. By the end of it, I mean, these are guys that I would just call on a regular Tuesday on my way home, and it wasn't a business call saying, hey, do you want to fish? It's just like, hey, dude, what are you doing today? How's it going? Those are the type of relationships, a guy's got to have to be long-term guide.
Yeah, wow.
Or else, if you make it about the resource, you'll 100% get burnt out. You'll get burnt out on people because people make mistakes. People are not going to be good fishermen. That's the difference between making it long-term as a guide and being burnt out.
Yeah, I work in ministry, and one of the things that I always hear from older pastors is people are the best part of ministry and people are the worst part of ministry. so I can see that being very true with guiding as well, right?
Just gotta be patient, man. What do you do, right? You lose a fish, who cares? Guess what? There's more.
Yeah, absolutely. So the videos then kind of came out of you building this outdoors empire. It wasn't like you went out to start a YouTube channel or something, right? Is what I'm gathering.
Yeah, so it's funny. Put a timestamp on when Amazon started, when YouTube started. You guys know the years those started?
I don't know the years, no.
It was like 2001 or 1999 or something.
I don't think it was that long ago. Was it?
I couldn't tell you.
This is how I can tell I'm talking to young kids. Like, they were born after the internet, Mike. Like, they don't know life without the internet. And
we grew up with one of these in our pockets.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't have an iPhone until not really that long ago, in all honesty. But no, seriously. So we grew up without the internet, right? When I started VIP Outdoors in 2007. At that time, the idea of having a website was questionable amongst industry throughout the United States.
Yeah.
Wow.
People thought it was a fad.
Yeah.
Let alone guiding, right?
Guiding was a deal, but just having a website. Big companies were like, we don't need a website. This is stupid.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wrap your mind around that.
Yeah, that's crazy. I can't.
So, let alone WooCommerce.
Yeah.
Buying things online back then was like, that is dumb. Who would ever buy something online?
Yeah.
So in the winter of 2008, we started to build our website. And we made a WooCommerce site. So Amazon is actually after us.
So you're an early adopter.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, Amazon, when they started, they didn't have products for sale. You know, Amazon used to just be books.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all Amazon
Like
was. Is you
Netflix
could buy.
used to be DVDs.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's all you could do is buy literature to read
Yeah.
on Amazon.
Yeah.
Electronic Amazon. And so, anyways, and so I've always felt like I've been a little bit ahead of times in the electronic world, even though I'm not an electronic guy. And what's going to trend next, I feel like I'm always on top of it.
Yeah.
So like when we did YouTube, our first YouTube videos,
Yeah.
I mean, that was like, people were like, what is this? You know what I mean? What is YouTube, you know? And it wasn't like it is now, to where you just on your phone upload, done.
Yeah.
You know, you had to take you had video cameras, you take the video camera, and then you'd upload it to computer, and then this, and then that.
Well,
Yep.
phones
And
didn't
Mike, if
even
you want to
have
go back
cameras.
up and you reel up, we're good too.
I think we're okay just for a little bit.
Yeah, just let us know.
Back up.
Yeah. But anyways, and so that's how that started, you know.
Yeah.
But it's hard to. So I think I was one of the only ones doing it at the time. But then when I got super busy with guiding, you know, you just gotta balance your time, right? And so you spend so much time guiding. I kind of fell behind on the recording stuff and all that stuff because I just do it by myself, and there wasn't. Being a videographer, like if somebody would have called me 10 years ago and said I'm a videographer, I'm like, you're an idiot. Or like I'm doing a podcast, I'm like, that's not a job. But it's totally changed, right? Everything has just evolved into what it is now, which is
it really is crazy how different it is that there's kids growing up saying that they want to be a YouTuber. You know?
I make my kids stand outside
crazy.
in the rain when they say that. Like, oh, good, be a YouTuber outside of my house.
And it's pretty cool that you were such an early adopter in a world where, and especially in guiding and fishing and stuff, they're apprehensive to maybe adopt the technology aspect of it.
At least
too.
at first,
Yeah,
for
first.
sure. Because
Yeah.
like nowadays,
You got to show people
it's all
it works.
about the technology,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, for a time, hunters and fishermen were, in a lot of ways, they still are.
We still are, yeah.
You know,
Demonized a little bit.
technology is just not. But then I say that, and we've got fish finders and all kinds of technology that we use.
People combine the two things, with electronics and recording and all that stuff, and then they talk about the outdoors, and they talk about it in one sentence. It's not. Those are two different things.
Yeah.
Those are completely two different things. So you have the outdoorsman that's really good at fishing, really good at hunting, that might not capture it electronically because they're not apprehensive, because I guarantee every one of those guys watches YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And they watch
Nowadays.
hunting videos, they watch fishing videos. I know I'm the same way. I know we've done a better job, especially now we got AJ, about putting stuff online.
Yeah.
Or on what is that called, YouTube. But that's not what I do.
Yeah.
Outdoorsmen generally don't do that because that's not our wheelhouse.
Yep.
Sure.
In my mind, I'm like, well, I should be able to do it all with my cell phone, and I can, and I have.
Yeah.
But when I'm out here, I don't want to mix the two.
Sure.
I don't like for me personally, if we're doing it and AJ's doing his thing and I'm out here fishing, that's fine. But for me personally, like I tried it a couple times when I was guiding, like to try to record the day and guide at the same time. It doesn't work.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
two different things, and then you're not engaged with customers. And so that's why I don't think outdoor guys are apprehensive to it. I think outdoor guys are such outdoorsmen, like true outdoorsmen, to where that's where they make a living. That's what they do. The electronic part is a different operation.
Yeah. Adds a layer of complexity to the day. That's already a complex
Which
day.
might answer part of your question of why don't people do outdoor podcasts in the outdoors?
Exactly.
Because if it was raining, we wouldn't be able to do this right
it'd make
now.
it tough.
This gear is not waterproof.
Yeah.
So hopefully
but
we
then
stay
it's
in
like,
the boat.
well, I guess we're not doing that today, but we're still going to the outdoors. The outdoors doesn't
exactly.
stop for technology, I'll tell you that much.
Exactly,
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
technology does stop for the outdoors. Yeah. Man, so you've been doing this thing for quite a while now, but I mean, lifelong outdoorsman, right? When did you really fall in love with salmon fishing?
So in Eastern Oregon, growing up, we didn't have opportunity at salmon. We had steelhead up on the Clearwater and the Snake River during our winter months, which were actually summer steelhead migrating through here during the summer and fall months. But we'd fish for those things in Hell's Canyon,
Sure.
in November, December, even into January, February, really cold, nasty
Wow.
months.
Yeah.
And so
And out there, cold is even colder than it is out here.
It's cold. Yeah. So a lot of people think you ask them the deepest canyon in the world or in the United States, and they say Grand Canyon. No, it's actually Hell's Canyon.
Yeah.
And it's all rock, man.
Yeah.
It is
Oh, wow.
frozen mother. But anyways, then our salmon up in Idaho, like we had caught wind that there was salmon up there. I think I was in college, actually. I think it was my second year of college. And we went up there. Nobody knew how to catch anything at that time. So we're using like 50-pound test line, 5 ounce. We just been
Monofilament.
a bunch of yarn. I mean, it was, and we caught some fish. We
Wow.
caught some fish.
That's amazing.
But
Yeah.
we weren't experts by any means,
Yeah, I can't believe that actually worked.
Wow.
Yeah, and so
That's
we
awesome. There's a will.
But ever since then, are just freaking hooked on it. And then I came to,
Yeah.
I was in college, and again, I played, still an athlete, so I played football and ran track, so I didn't
At
have
what
all
school?
the time in the Western Oregon University.
Western
Oh,
Oregon.
Western,
Okay, so
okay.
out there in
Monmouth.
Monmouth.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty close to my neck of the woods.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so so again, I didn't have a lot of time until I got done, and then once I got done with college, I continued with athletics, but I had a little bit more time.
Sure.
So then I started fishing a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even the hunting side took me a little bit of time to get rolling on.
Yeah. When did you move out to Oregon City?
I've only been in Oregon City about 8 years.
Okay.
Before that, I was in Molalla for 8 or 9 years.
Okay.
Before that, in Jervis for 2 or 3
Oh,
years.
Jervis.
Oh,
So-
Jervis, huh?
Yeah.
That was my first place out of
Sorry,
college.
that-
Was in Jervis.
Jervis. Yeah.
Jervis is even closer to our neck of the woods. So.
Yeah, that's from my wife's family, Jervis area. Yeah.
Yep.
That's really cool. Yeah, I can really relate to the sports aspect. I grew up playing baseball and hockey, and went to college, played a little baseball. So
Nice.
my youth was filled with sports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think there is a seamless transition into sports, into the outdoors. And I found that in the last year, like it's taken over for me personally. I still love sports, don't get me wrong, but it's the new shiny thing is hunting right now.
Right.
I've been doing it forever. I can't imagine my life without it now.
When did you start playing baseball?
Oh man, I was like 4 or 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So what happens is, you've been playing competitively for that long, right?
Yeah.
And so your body, your endorphins, your chemical makeup, there's always that competition part
Is that GoPro
that gets
still recording?
ingrained in you. And when it's ingrained in you and it starts to slow down, then there's no more baseball games, there's no more football games, no more wrestling matches.
Yeah.
What's your outlet?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like you still gotta have something that feeds that pumps those endorphins.
Yep.
That keeps that dopamine going, or else that's where a lot of people fall into the lack of mental health, right?
Sure.
For sure.
The scary part,
Yeah,
for
sure.
Yeah.
So I honestly think that's why you see a lot of professional athletes, college athletes, really after they're done, just take a dive because they just don't know how to handle that.
Yeah.
Sure.
So the outdoors
Absolutely.
is a great outlet for that.
Well, especially when I was going to college, about halfway through COVID hit, and that eliminated a lot of opportunity, but also just having that outlet, right?
Yeah.
And then I wish I would have had the outdoors like I do now back in those times, and that would have helped me, the mental side of things, because now you don't have that competitive outlet.
Right.
But also the outdoors, which I don't think is that perseverance that I've learned playing hockey and baseball, and that makes, I think that really separates a lot of people in their success, especially when you talk about big game hunting too, and fishing, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the perseverance, the patience, right? When you're
Yes.
fishing or hunting,
yeah.
it's the same thing, right? The patience of waiting for something to bite or something to come through, and then the perseverance of, I know I gotta get over that next ridge, or like, dude, am I gonna be able to get to that animal? And like, there's a lot that parallels athletics.
Yeah, and it's really funny listening to you guys talk about that as someone who didn't do sports growing up. I did 4-H.
Yeah.
And I would skip school to go bass fishing.
Yeah.
I've fished my whole life and started hunting as soon as I was old enough to take myself, because I didn't have a family that hunted.
Yeah.
And so, for me, I still have so much of that drive, though, like what you're talking about, like just gotta get to the next ridge. there's 100 hunters at this gate, so I'm gonna go, 10 miles past all those guys type of thing. So, some of us non-sports guys, we get it too, right?
Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've never met
a competitive bug, right?
I've never met a non-sports guy that pushes me this hard when we go out hunting.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Love it out there. Love it. Yeah. Do you catch flack for your videos giving away too many specifics? Because, I mean, you are specific sometimes. I saw one you did recently that was, you're talking about how many beads to put on and the size of the beads. And it was like, you have it down to such a science. Do you ever get flack for that?
If I do, it's not to my face because people are chicken. But,
Exactly.
No. Honestly, that's always been a fine line for me because in the guide world, again, I'm out there paying my dues, learning with everybody else. But on the flip side, I also have the tackle that I feel like it's better received when you tell and teach people how to use it.
Yeah.
And when you teach somebody something,
Yeah.
that is more valuable than, my name's Pro Escobedo. I use this
Yeah.
spinner. You should too, right?
Yeah.
So that's always been a very fine line for me, just because, again, not only am I out here paying my dues as a fisherman, but just as respect to all the anglers around me.
Yeah.
So I think, to answer your question more directly, I don't get flack from people, but the reason I don't think I get the flack from people is because people see how hard I've worked.
Sure.
Yeah.
To get to where I'm at. The days on the water I've spent, I grind just as hard as everybody else. And I've also been, to our earlier conversation, I've been kind to everybody along the way, and more importantly, respectful to guys along the way.
Sure.
And so, if there's certain things that this industry doesn't know about that I have for myself, that I have for the guides on our pro staff, and you guys may never know about them.
Yeah.
But these are little edges that, we still have, but I make sure that the guys that have supported me along the way get supported before anybody else.
No, and I am glad to hear that. I mean, that you do have some of those things that, that you haven't released the whole world, right?
No.
Yeah.
Well, and there's some things also, right now we're in the process of stuff that I'll launch next year is stuff that I started to fish last year and continuing to fish this year to make sure that it functions and work properly before we release it on the public,
Yeah.
And so that is one thing that hands down separates us from any other manufacturer.
Sure.
I don't launch it or mass produce it until I know it's going to be effective.
Yeah.
Everything we produce, I have personally caught a fish on. Every spinner blade, everything, I have caught a fish on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Every color?
Every color.
Wow.
I don't make stuff just to make stuff and sell it.
You've caught a lot of fish, haven't you?
Yeah, a lot of fish. But that's the difference between VIP Outdoors and a lot of the other tackle companies out there.
Yeah.
Ours has been field tested for at least a year before I put it on the market.
Wow.
I looked at your guys' catalog, and I have for a while now, and that's pretty an accomplishment. That's
a lot.
That is a lot. Yeah.
For our listeners, go look at VIP Outdoors online and just look at all the colors. That's an impressive feat.
We have 103 different 3.5 Colorado patterns.
Wow. Sheesh.
How do you keep track of them all?
Yeah, that we know about. Yeah.
How do you keep track of all that? I mean, that's the business side of it,
It
right?
kind of becomes your baby, huh, Mike? When you first started, I bet you thought, how am I ever going to remember these colors? And now it's like, beep, 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 beep.
Yeah,
Now you remember
I
what-
still remember that clearly. About the first 3 days, I was like, I don't know how he knows every single one of these blades, how he even remembers, let alone how I'm ever going to do it. So.
Wow.
And now he's like, now I have to ask Mike. I'm like, hey, where's such? He's like, oh, it's in the third one down over here.
Man, yeah, that's great.
That's awesome.
How big is your shop? Like,
Not big enough.
no?
Crank us up, Mike. We got to go back up there. Let's roll. Don't wait on us. We're just jaw jacking.
Yep.
Let's go. You do the work.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Is that frowned upon in salmon fishing? Maybe put a bunch of them in your coon shrimp brine, right?
Yeah.
I wonder what that would do.
You know, I don't know. Everything eats a worm.
Yeah.
I don't know. We don't use them.
Yeah, I wonder if it's been done.
Yeah. A lot of times that's what it takes. Just hasn't been done yet.
That's one of the different things about salmon fishing I've noticed than bass fishing, is it seems like everyone in salmon fishing kind of aligns on what they're using. Like everyone's kind of doing the same thing. But in bass fishing, it's always the guys that come out with some new weird lure that catch all the fish.
Yeah, it's bass are stupid.
Yeah.
They're not stupid. They're an intelligent fish, but they're not in comparison to salmon.
Yeah.
The presentations on a
frog or something.
Presentations on a bass
Yeah.
are just as critical as they are on a salmon, but a Carolina rig's a Carolina rig's a Carolina rig.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whether you put a lizard on it, whether you put a worm on it, whether you put a curl tail on it,
Yep.
it's all the same presentation, right? So,
Absolutely.
you know, with trolling, and then you're on a lake too, right? So on the lake, you get guys that maybe they want to drift off of a shelf, or maybe they want to fish the shallows, and so they're, you know, cast and retrieving. With this, you know, everybody's got to be uniform.
Yep.
Because like in this fishery, if you had one guy going the wrong way,
Yeah.
it's just
Yep.
Yeah.
Huh.
I'll get a peek at this guy.
Was it a keeper? I didn't even check.
I missed it.
I didn't see him throw back, so
Very nice.
gotta get tangled up.
So wilds, can't keep wilds right now.
Correct.
Okay.
Can you keep wild Chinook ever?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, August 1st used to be our opening date on the Columbia River, where we could harvest either or, hatchery or wild.
Okay.
That changed a few years ago because our catch rates went up, our impacts went up as an overall group. So now in the lower system, when I say lower, like buoy 10, August 1st, now it's hatchery only.
Yeah.
And above Warrior Rock is any fish starting August 1st. Whereas it used to be right at buoy 10 upriver, August 1st was either or.
Yeah.
In the Chinook. Coho's always just been hatchery only when it comes to the main stem of the Columbia there.
Yeah.
And a lot of, when I talk salmon, guys, you got to keep in mind, I'm generally talking the Columbia River system, the Willamette system. just
Sure.
because those are the fisheries that
Two
I
main.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, those are the only times you can do that.
Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah, I went out fishing like towards the end of August and with a guide with my wife's family, and my brother-in-law hooked into, I mean, this is the biggest salmon I've ever seen caught, and it was a big old wild, and we ended up keeping it that day. So there are specific one-off days where you can't keep
Where were you
wilds.
guys at, if you don't mind me asking?
I was finding right out of
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's above Warrior Rock.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
keeper.
right under the bridge right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Amazing fish, that's
a
for
sweet
sure.
fish. Yeah. Wow.
They're just good quality fish this year, huh, Mike?
Yeah, there are. A lot bigger than they have been.
Than in the past. You know, usually our spring Chinook run, we see a lot of like 8-pounders, 9-pounders, you know?
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's usually a 3-year fish. You're getting in that cycle, you're gonna get 3-year fish, 4-year fish, 5-year fish, you know?
Okay.
And that's how long they've been in the ocean.
Yeah.
And, you know, last year I felt like we had a lot of 3-year fish. I'd say last year my average fish was like 8 pounds.
Wow.
Okay.
In the
Wow.
spring.
Yeah, they were.
They weren't very big last year. But this year I feel like the fish being caught are a little bit bigger. A
Yeah.
little better
Yeah.
quality in between that, on average, you know, I'm going to say in that 12-pound range.
Yeah.
How big do you think that fish is?
No, probably about a 12-pounder there, Mike?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Take that all day.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I
So, on the all your resources that you have out there to help people learn, I've seen that you do quite a few seminars too, especially at Fisherman's Marine. What's your relationship with them?
Well, we saw our tackle there. You know, Fisherman's Marine has been Mike, how long's Fisherman's Marine been around?
50 years, they just had their thing.
Oh, yeah.
50 years.
Oh, wow.
Like this
and
week,
then
right?
Before that, it was Larry's Sporting Goods. So they, you know, Fisherman's Marine is kind of the staple in the area as far as fishing tackle goes. You know, over the last couple of years, they've had a change of hands and things like that. You know, and I think they're doing a little bit better job now of keeping a good inventory. But you know, they're kind of redefining their model. They're in that change period right now.
Sure.
You know, seminars have completely changed from the time I started to now. You know, back then, I say back then, that really dates me, but
back in the day,
right? When I started and we had seminars, we could give a seminar and people by the end of the seminar would say, hey, I want to learn that fishery. Would you show it to me? I want to book a trip.
yeah,
And now, I feel like with the seminars, I'm more so demonstrating the tackle.
yeah,
People really feel confident in their abilities to go and do it themselves.
yeah,
And so, seminars have completely changed, you know, and that's hard for a guide to go to a seminar because people are looking for information, not willing to spend the resources on actually learning it. So that's almost unfair to ask guides to do seminars anymore because the culture of the customer has changed, you know?
Yep.
It's got to be a two-way relationship, right?
Yeah.
With the guide. It's got to go both ways.
Yeah.
If you just want information but give them nothing back in return other than a like on Facebook, I'm sorry. I don't want to
Yeah.
You know, likes don't pay the bills. I don't care who says what.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
And the guides are what push the industry forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think that's something really important for all of us, especially within the salmon world, to understand. Yeah.
That is an extremely interesting point you bring up, though, that shift you've seen, because you're saying that it makes total sense to me. Like, the reason I research, you know, fishing gear or whatever I'm trying to figure out is because I want to go out and do it, you know? And so I feel like that probably is a common intention for a lot of people who would come to a seminar, is to learn to do it.
To go do it on their own.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I talk to my boys about this all the time. And I actually give them a bad time about it because they will watch something on social media, whether it be YouTube, and in their mind they know how to do it because they've had the mental reps over and over and over watching.
Sure. Yeah.
That doesn't mean you know how to do it.
Yeah.
It means you have seen somebody do it who knows how to do it.
Yeah.
Because then I'll say, okay, if you know how to do this, and I'm gonna use my older boy for an example, like football. He's like, oh, Dad, I already know how to do that. And I'm like, show me, because I've never seen you in my life do that. So, well, such and such. I was like, well, he knows how to do it, and he's in the NFL, so yes, you're right. You know how to do it. I want to see you do it. That's how you can prove that you know it.
Yeah.
And it's different. So there's the perception of younger people these days that they gain that mental rep, that mental confidence that they can do it on their own by watching enough videos.
Yeah.
And I don't think they even know that's happening, but they do. And then they get out there and go, why didn't I catch anything today?
Exactly. Yeah.
I thought I knew how to do this. And to prove that point, it's if you go out there fishing, and if you haven't caught anything, how often are you changing your lure? You're like, this isn't working, I'm gonna try something else. Was it the lure? Or the person throwing the lure?
Yeah.
And once you know that you are doing it correctly, you will not switch out your gear even when you're not getting bit, because you know that you're doing it correctly.
Yeah.
You know, whereas the people that don't know, you see them switching stuff out all the time. It's like, oh, this isn't working, this isn't working, this isn't working.
Yeah.
You know, the guys that know how to do it and have the true experience, we rarely switch out our stuff. Every now and again, we'll make minor tweaks, you know, and that's, you know, with our blades and stuff, it's like, oh, I'll go from a gold to a copper, or I'll go from Colorado to Cascade.
Yeah.
You know, just those minor modifications, you know. But,
yeah. Well, that's a maturity thing in outdoorsmanship, is having that consistency.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I do that all the time when I'm hunting.
Yeah.
I'll do the same thing all day long, and it'll finally pay off in the end. Even after days or weeks of doing something, then it'll pay off.
Yeah.
But when I first started, I wouldn't give something that much opportunity, you know. Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah,
That's
I
very
think you're
true.
describing my whole bass fishing career right there.
Bass
Constantly
fishing.
just changing stuff out.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I got to go from this to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll fish the same lure 4 times as long as you will.
Yeah. The maturity piece. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not really even maturity as a person, just that knowing what works, you know.
I was gonna ask you. So your boys are getting a little bit older now. Do they pick up on the outdoor stuff? They're all involved with it, or are they more sports?
Both. They're, you know,
Yeah.
being my boys, they have to do the outdoor thing, you know.
Yeah.
But it's different. It's different for them. They don't know what they've been exposed to is stuff that I've already learned, and so catching a salmon to them is something that it's expected.
Oh yeah,
And,
sure.
And they don't know how hard it is to actually learn that.
Yeah.
And now they're at the age where it's like, nope, you guys are doing your own thing. You're
Yeah.
trying your own knots. You guys are actually going to learn how to do this instead of me doing it for you, right?
Yeah.
That'll probably be important because I've met a lot of people who grew up on property and filling a deer tag every year was a given.
Yeah.
They just walk out on the back porch and they're gonna shoot a whatever it might be, you know. So they don't really have that like passion for it.
Right.
As for when it's hard,
Yeah.
like what you're saying for your kids, if you make it hard for them, then they're gonna understand like, oh, this is it's like a competitive thing, like you're fighting, you know, for it to happen.
And I do, like on days that I know are going to be scratch fishing or like maybe we'll get one, I make sure that I take them on those days so they know what it feels like to maybe not get one in a day.
Yeah.
You know, they need to know that this resource is not a gimme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Man. So do you do any evening fishing or mostly morning fishing?
Hey, you can fish all day, man.
Yeah.
These fish come through in waves, especially these springers and fall fish.
Okay, so they don't really move with the day, then they're just kind of around.
No, I mean, you'll see in the morning time, the reason people have success in the morning is, you know, fish will stage overnight.
Sure.
So once that light comes up, they get moving, you know. So fish that were staging in here from yesterday evening should be in here, you know.
Okay. Okay.
But believe it or not, you know, at this time of year especially, this river, even though we're not on the Columbia, is tide influence. And so fish will bite on certain parts of the tide. You know,
Yeah.
when you
Wow.
get that pressure change.
Wow. That's wild.
Yeah,
that
that was-
even this far up.
Oh, yeah.
That was going to be my next question. Is like up in the system a little bit further, like than the Columbia, does the tide affect the way that they move and how they bite? Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, I did not know that.
All they know is pressure. That's all they know is pressure. So you get a big outgoing tide, they're swimming against the pressure. All of a sudden the tide lets up, they're not swimming as hard, they're more relaxed, they act more like fish.
Yeah.
Okay.
I say act more like fish, they're more willing to cooperate.
Yeah.
Sure.
But then, you know, you get so far up, you have the influence of Bonneville Dam and the water flows there start to have an impact and compete with that. And so keeping tabs on all of that is really what
Yeah.
can make a big
No,
difference.
to me that's so wild because, you know, Gage grew up out here, so he knows about the river being tidal.
Oh yeah.
I grew up in McMinnville, far away from here. You know, I've never seen this part of the river from the
Well
river
above
before.
the falls and everything.
And you know, so the fact that the Willamette would be tidal was just mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
It's crazy how it pushes up. And so you're saying all the way to Bonneville, there'll be some of that tidal influence.
There's influence all the way up.
Wow.
But with Bonneville Dam pushing water at different times of the year, you know, like when we get those really hot days, you'll see them start generating water through that dam. Not the water rising, but generating more water through the surface there to create energy.
Okay.
And when they create that energy, you'll see more of a current. Well, that's pressure.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, you know,
So that's why the rain affects them so much too.
The rain?
Yeah, like when the river is receding versus rising.
So more of a wintertime question, I guess, fall and wintertime question. During the spring, I don't see the rain make it.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay. So mostly for the fall stuff. Okay.
again, it's a temperature thing, right?
Yeah.
They feel that temperature changing. That's when they know they have to get on the move.
Sure.
That's their biological clock is based on temperature. water
Temperature.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would it be okay to talk about what we got out here
What do
for
you
the
mean?
listeners?
Yeah. So we're up here. We're spring Chinook fishing on the Willamette. We're back trolling eggs. It's a very particular fishery. This is not a new guy fishery in here. Like, you have to know what you were doing.
Yeah.
This is one of those fisheries to where, I mean, everybody sees it. You drive over 205, you see a bunch of boats down here, right? And they're
Yep.
like, oh, the fish must be there. Not necessarily.
Yeah.
This is one of those fisheries you have to like to do it. And it's that super competitive. Like, my eggs are going to be the ticket today. My secret recipe is going to be the ticket today.
Yeah.
And that's what you're here trying to prove. Like, you're trying to compete with these fish and other great anglers. I mean, I look around in this area and there's like 10 guides here that are pretty dang good in this area.
Oh yeah.
And you're going to sit and watch. Plus some of the local guys that are not guides like Mike, who've been doing this for years.
Yeah.
You're going to sit and you're going to watch, and potentially you might get in the way, and potentially you might unintentionally cause disruption amongst how everybody here is fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to fish it, then it's like, this is just not the place for you. And that goes for any fishery. If you don't know how to fish it, and it's a particular fishery like this, it's not for you. It's not a place to learn.
Yeah.
Like, go learn down there by me, when we're down in front of the spaghetti factory or Ross Island or down there where we could just troll and you have space.
Yeah.
And you're going to be better off doing that. Honestly, you'd be more successful doing that than you will this, because this is like I don't know. I don't even know what's in Mike's egg brine. You know what I mean? Like, all this is just so secretive stuff that you got to be that good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of videos about guys putting together their own little brine and their little secret sauce and everything, and everybody's got their little secret sauce.
Well, a lot of it's, they're trying to sell their secret sauce.
Well, that just is. So how secret is it if you're willing to sell it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And if everyone's buying it, right?
If everybody's buying it. And I know there's guys that sell egg cures out there that they don't put everything that they say that they use. They're selling their name,
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Which is great, you gotta make a buck or whatever. But the guys that are good at it will never tell you exactly what they put in there, because
sure,
they've committed time and energy and resources to getting it right.
Yeah.
So why would you just give away something you spent so much time trying to perfect?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then so the spinner thing, and I'm not super familiar with this piece of tackle. The blue guy you guys got.
So it's a diver.
A diver.
Yeah,
Okay.
a diver,
Yeah.
And that just creates pressure and keeps your gear along the bottom to where you don't have lead potentially getting hung up.
That's nice.
Yeah. So you can. I mean, I've back bounced lead up here, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
You get different flows in here with the tide and everything else. You know what I mean?
The falls. And the falls probably create some type of pressure.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's too soon or not, but then you might get a kayak accidentally come under your boat. I don't know if that's too soon. Well, I mean, but there's also safety precautions, like in a boat, like in all guide boats and all recreational boats. And make sure you guys post this, is that everybody should have an anchor in the boat at all times. You never take your anchor out of your boat. That is one of the biggest pieces of safety equipment a guide needs, is your anchor. And you get in a situation like that, or you're out in the ocean and you lose power, you start drifting ashore, you got to be able to throw that anchor to at least keep you in spot.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I don't know how that works on kayaks. I don't think there are anchors, or I don't know, but
Yeah, I don't think there are anchors.
Kyle's kayaks have anchors.
Oh yeah, Kyle's kayaks are also mini boats.
They're mini boats. Yeah, he's one of those guys. Well, I think we've gotten most of the content of the episode. There's one more thing that we always like to talk about to end the show with all of our guests, is exploring that spiritual connection to the life in the outdoors. And for me and for Gage, we're both Christians, and so, like, for better or for worse, everything that we do is wrapped up in our spiritual perspective. But not everyone sees life that way. But I found that no matter what, every outdoorsman I talk to, there's something deeper, whether you want to call it identity or spirituality or something about the outdoors, that it's a deeper connection than just what it looks like on the surface.
Right.
So I wanted to hear your perspective on that.
I think there's a lot of truth to that. With the outdoors can easily be made superficial, viewed upon superficial, especially with the social media platforms out there.
Yeah.
That's 100% perspective.
Yeah.
It's not the reason a lot of us do this, and it keeps the outdoors has a great way of keeping people grounded and balanced.
Yeah.
If you submerge yourself in it, if you try to exploit the outdoors through fishing and hunting,
sure,
it will get rid of you very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And there's a spiritual aspect, to the outdoors that does that, and when you I guess fall mercy to the outdoors and appreciate it for all of its beauty, all of its rawness, all of its power, you're gonna appreciate it that much more.
Yeah.
That's where genuine friendships come from. Like, I met Jack, we have a mutual friend, but I went to tuna fishing with Jack. It was the very first time I met him. He didn't even know my name for 12 hours.
That's awesome.
But Mike, same thing. We met through fishing, and Mike's our shop manager, and there's a lot of organic, genuine connections that are made in the outdoors, and one you can't help to think that it's something bigger. Then that's not something that's created by people. That's something created by a bigger energy, and whether you have spiritual belief or not, you have to have the understanding that there's something bigger that is creating this. This is not us fishery. This is not a big fishery. This is something about the energy of this world or beyond that creates all of this.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I completely agree, and I mean, I think what it is it's a correct perspective. Like, we can go through our daily lives and be completely overwhelmed by work or family or balancing everything, that we get into our own world and we just kind of put our heads down and do what we're doing. But then when we come out here under the big sky, or up in the mountains, we realize how small we are. And how we're just a small part of something it's too big, right? For us we can't explore all of it in our lifetime, which is just amazing that we live on this earth that is so big that we can't even cover all of it in one lifetime.
Can't even comprehend all of it.
Yeah. Let alone then suddenly you're out in the wilderness and you look up at the stars and it's like unbelievable how many stars are out there. And then you realize, holy crap, it's not only just this earth that's so amazingly huge and I'm so tiny, but it's this galaxy that we're in that is monumental. And so I agree, for most outdoorsmen it sort of leads to this understanding that there's something bigger than me out there.
I kind of you go out into the outdoors and you feel tiny, like you're talking about. Ooh. Have you guys seen the movie Rango?
Rango.
It's the spirit of the West, right? So we're Christians, so we can have a framework of how we understand that. But outdoorsmen will explain it in all types of ways. And I think with that movie in mind, the spirit of the West, I think in that context, for the Christian context, God has a plan for you, and in all aspects of things, and bringing people together, growing you as a person. It's an unexpected journey that creates and shapes you into hopefully the men we're meant to be.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Well, hey, thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you.
For what you're doing. Again, I just ask that everything you guys do, you try to do it in a positive light and share that positive light with other outdoorsmen, and
Yeah.
Be respectful of that, and you guys know how it is. Not everyone's gonna be on board, right? And that's okay.
Yep.
But we don't dwell on those negative things. We just try to dwell and be thankful for those good encounters and the people that we can connect with, and you just focus on your people, right?
Yeah.
Kind of tribe,
absolutely.
So,
Amen.
Yeah, and thank you, Pro, for your graciousness,
no problem.
having us out, answering our stupid questions, and you've definitely earned the respect that you have in the fishing community.
I appreciate that.
And so it's a pleasure to get to really have this conversation with you and just be out on the water.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
man. Well, we're gonna keep after it here. I know we're gonna get a couple rods to fold over, so you guys will be able to
All
check
right.
that out.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you.
Thanks again.